Hi, I'm Randy Hollenbeck, and this is the Music Roundtable. Today on the show, we have Sue and Abby from rock band Tiny Wars.
Hello, everybody.
See you in the morning light from the corner of my eyes. I don't care. You said you compromise, but the compromise ain't fair. I don't care, no. I don't care.
I just wanted to start out by digging into some of your history. Like, Abby, what age did you start playing guitar? What got you into music? Was there like a band or a musician or something?
My parents always had me around music, so I started off as a piano player. Just little kid that had, grandma's piano available to them. And so I started playing by ear, and I always loved things like Elton John, very singer-songwriter kind of stuff. Got into like Broadway, and then I wanted to learn to play all of that. And then my dad took me to a Kiss concert, and it combined, rock and roll and that theater like little love that I had. So then I was like, oh, I have to learn how to play guitar. I can't be sitting and rocking out. Although Sue has taught me that you can definitely rock a keyboard. But at the time, I think I was just like, nope, got to play guitar. Say it's fairly or die. And so, yeah, I started playing at 15. The thing that I still kind of kick myself about on guitar is that I wish that I would have course corrected kind of what I didn't know in music theory about piano. I wish I would have course corrected that when I started playing guitar. But I did it, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I just know what I want it to sound like. And so a lot of the times, like things that I'm writing, or if it's like a solo or something like that, if somebody's like, well, what key is that in? I'd be like, right. A terrible question to ask me. I have no idea.
Doesn't matter.
I just like what I like, and I know how to get what I like, but I don't know what I'm doing otherwise.
Okay. Sue, what got you into music? What age did you start getting into it?
I mean, pretty young because my dad's a musician and we always had music on at home. We always had records playing. I always heard my dad practicing all day, every day because he was already a working musician back then. My mom would go to work and he would be practicing and like booking shows on the phone all day. Back then, no internet. So I don't know. It's just kind of like never knew anything else. And to me, it was kind of normal. But now looking back, I think it's actually pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
It's especially cool because my parents were in a partnership that enabled him to follow his dream and make that work. Because without her, he wouldn't have been able to be a working musician and follow his dream. That's just a side note, but so I was always around that, and I learned, just like Abby, I learned piano started when I was about 6 or 7, and at, at about like starting at the age of like 10, I started like trying to do my own songs and like try to put the melodies I have in my head like in the piano and turn it into something. And yeah, that's where it started.
Okay. Can you tell me some of your musical influences?
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I want to say a lot of power pop because when I was very young, that was the kind of thing that was playing in our house a lot, like Joe Jackson, Squeeze, um, uh, a band from the Netherlands called the Nits was playing a lot. That's also kind of like power pop-ish. And then a lot of prog rock, British prog rock, like Atomic Rooster, or stuff like Gentle Giant or stuff like that, King Crimson.
I think this is like probably a view into the Tiny Wars formula then, because I'm all like MTV baby. So like my parents were young parents for sure, but like then they just basically raised my sister and I just on MTV, like just Playpen, MTV. So it's like a lot of mainstream rock for sure. And then my own musical journey once I was like 15 and I was just like seeking more things out was all like thrash metal. So it was all like Megadeth. I wanted to learn like Pantera. I wanted to play like like only creepy things. That's all I was interested in. And I did like start off in metal bands and then got like into stoners like music and things like that. So I've always been like heavy, 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 heavy. Yeah. So if you put the two of us together, I think that is actually probably a really good explanation as to how Tiny Wars ended up sounding like Tiny Wars.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Can you tell me how the band got together?
So I just for fun was meeting up with Deb
from Lady
Beast. And just because I had known her, she was one of my friends back then, just like from around the scene. And we met to just jam together, have some fun. And she brought her friend Rocco, who's also in Tiny Wars now. And we just jammed for fun, but nothing really came out of it. And then one time she said, I'm going to bring my friend Abby. She's badass. And I remember Deb was really surprised that I didn't know who Abby was. Because usually when you bring her up, people are like, oh yeah, sure, Abby Krisner, from the X, blah, 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 from 1,000 million different bands. But since I'm not from Pittsburgh, I didn't really know who she is. But I remember her walking in the room, and I saw her for the very first time, and I was like intimidated and intrigued by this at the same time. And I was like, whoa, that's a,
what a compliment.
That's she just had this like presence. I remember being like, whoa, who's that? And then we stopped jamming because that was just a fun thing we did.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I think I said to Sue, like, she's like, hey, like, I actually know what Deb got a little busy and she was like, I've kind of bitten off more than I can chew. And obviously, like, Ladies Beast is a very successful band, but she also has many other things that she does. And so she was like, yeah, I'm kind of like overwhelmed right now. So I'm probably like not going to be down for jamming in the future. Like, I just don't have time for it. And Sue had asked me, she's like, are you still down to like play? And I kind of said, yeah, but like also if there's not a direction, like I don't really have time to like just spend and see where it goes. I kind of want to like, I'm busy and I just kind of need to know what you want to do. And then it was maybe a few months later, she sent me a song called War. And it was like extremely well demoed. It had a really cool vibe to it. It kind of punched me in the face. And I messaged her and I said, did you write this? And she said, yeah, I wrote it. And I said, uh-huh. And she's like, I have tons of songs, actually. And I'm like, because she was playing drums when we were jamming. She wasn't playing other instruments. And so she wasn't like in the position of like, doing like a songwriting with melody in front of me ever. And so I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she's like, oh yeah, I write tons of songs. I'm like, well, speak up. Let's do this. Like, that's going to be our band. And so then I think when we started saying like who's going to be in this band, funny enough, or maybe serendipitously, I was like, I'm going to ask my buddy Rocco if he wants to do it. And she was like, I know who he is. And then we brought Aaron into the fold. Aaron and I had been like doing a little crust punk project with each other that didn't leave the garage. And then we had a guy named Luke for a little while who was also drumming for the Hawkeyes. He's a session guy and he's a touring musician. So like he wasn't forever. Very talented and we're happy for him, but like he couldn't be ours forever. And so Dennis is actually somebody I played in the Motorcycles with as well. And so it was kind of cool in like a really full circle kind of way to be back in a band with him.
Yeah, so I just realized that actually made it super easy for me because like meeting Abby opened a lot of doors. All the people I play with are very connected and have a history in the city as musicians, you know? So that kind of like made it really easy in a way to like find the right people,
Put it together. Yeah.
put it together. Yeah.
Like when you all got together, did you like work on your sound of what you wanted to represent?
Um, I don't think we knew exactly what we wanted, but
Yeah.
we clashed a little bit in the beginning in the sense, not in a bad way, but we were like, oh, your sound is really metal, or your sound
Yeah,
is really,
totally.
and I was more thinking of like a more like new wavy thing or whatever. And then that kind of like was a welcomed challenge to kind of like go back to the, how do you say, to the drawing board?
Yeah, it definitely reset it a bit because it could have probably ended up a heavier band, and I think that would have been a disservice to the songs. And so I know that Sue probably heard me say many, many times in the beginning, like we'd be playing something and we'd be like, oh, cool, this rocks. And I'd be like, this is not what I want it to sound like. Meaning my tone, like what I was bringing to the table would be like, if we're going for this direction, then we have to get the right stuff. Like this is not a band. I should have a fuzz pedal and an orange amp on noon,
Right.
you know, it needs to be,
Yeah,
you know,
that's what she came in with.
that's what I had. You know,
Like the walls were shaking, and she was like, you know what? Let me get a Fender Deluxe.
Yes.
And you know.
So yes, I kind of, my husband plays as well. I kind of stole all of his stuff because he had like all of these like clean pedals, gain pedals without too much drive. And he had this Fender Deluxe. And so,
yeah, you were like, I'm going to need this. Bye.
Yeah, I kind of took his stuff, and co-opted it all. But again, Stu made a really good point in saying like it was a welcome challenge because it can get like super comfortable for any musician to stay like in their wheelhouse and not ask any questions and be like, this is what I sound like. But it's like kind of humbling to go like, what could I sound like? And what do I sound like in this context? And I definitely think it's improved my guitar playing personally, just because I used to get away with probably just like rock it so hard that there's no nuance to it.
Yeah.
And so like this is really nice because there's nowhere to hide with a Fender Deluxe. So you're just kind of like, I got to play clean, I got to play intentionally, and I got to practice more because when those
which
like
you do a lot.
Yes. So when those solos come, be like, we can't just put a wah pedal on it anymore, Kirk. You know, you gotta actually like know what you're doing here. So, which is like the meanest thing to say. Kirk Hammett could like mop the floor with me, but it's just funny with the wah pedal.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna go into your guitar sound. Like, what kind of amp, guitar, what kind of pedals make up your guitar sound?
For me, so I actually with this Fender Deluxe, I like what it comes with for sure, but it still needed a little bit of drive. Like it doesn't, I didn't want to like dirty it up so much that we were losing clarity, but it definitely needed a little kick in the ass. And so I got this Tumnus gain booster, which is like truly, I think that's the biggest combo. Is that just makes it rock. I don't know what it is, and it's just a nice boost without losing that clarity.
Little slogan.
Yeah.
Just makes it rock.
Yeah, man. And then I have, a chorus pedal. I keep it really, really light. I don't like the over chorused stuff because it reminds me of like the early aughts. Like I'm gonna hit something chorus and then like bust into a Stain song, and I don't want to do that. And I what else do I have? I have a levitation device for a little bit of reverb and sweetness. But yeah, honestly, it's not really more than that. And a good solo like is just an EQ pedal and just slamming on that and getting a little bit of boost. But again, like my goal is to have improved my playing enough that I don't feel like I need to have a big distorted guitar to like play a solo and not be terrified.
How did you guys come up with the name for the band?
That was me. I had that before we had even met. I was going to start a band in Switzerland by that name, but then I moved here. That never happened, and I always had that name in the back of my head. it's hard to put it in a nutshell, but I would say it's about like unseen internal struggles that are happening in your brain chemistry on a microscopical level.
Mm-hmm. So something like
It's,
almost your
yeah.
internal battles.
Yeah, internal struggle is basically what propels me. It's what I'm made of. It's what drives me in everyday life. So I kind of like really identify with that. If I was completely fine with who I am and what I do and everything, I don't think I would be a good artist. So that's that.
Mm-hmm. I get that.
You released Drama Club September 2nd, 2022. Was that like self-produced, or did you go in the studio with a producer?
We didn't have a producer.
In the formal sense, we did not have a producer, but we had, our engineer, I think, Alex Hurd, who works at Allegheny City Sound. That experience of making that EP was really, really sweet, and I think Alex felt like an extra member. Like, he was just really easy to work with, and I also think for him, like, he does a lot of kind of like live bands, jam bands, like blues, rock, like all that kind of stuff. And so we definitely gave him like a little bit of a challenge where we're like, no, we want to sound like we're going in the Wayback Machine on this one. And this is kind of what we wanted to try out. So I think there was like a little bit, I hope that he enjoyed that, it was something new to learn for him too. But then did he do the mastering?
No, so he did the recording
I remember now.
And mixing. And the mastering was, what's it called? Russian
recordings.
Russian
recordings, yeah.
I don't remember. Are they based in Chicago?
So
I have to look it up.
Yes.
So we didn't line the mastering up. That was the label owner of Riff Raff who released the EP. He got us.
He's the one who set up the mastering. That's why can't remember. But we were really happy with it.
Yeah. But we didn't have a producer in that sense. We had to figure out ourselves what we want to sound like exactly, how to potentially get it to sound like that. It's not as easy as one would think.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel like it helps to have an objective third party to say.
Yeah, sometimes you need somebody to be like, yeah.
So maybe another time. When we're millionaires.
Yes, when we're millionaires, then we can have a producer.
We're going to get 5 different producers.
Yes.
Off of that EP, you had Walking on Clouds. Sue, I was wondering if you can like tell me the story about that song.
Oh, it's basically boy meets girl, girl meets boy, and then like you wake up the next day and they're gone and you try to remember what happened. But here's the funny thing. I didn't write the lyrics. That was my dad. I mean, I tweaked them a little bit to like make them a little bit more like Pittsburgh specific, because there's like one line where Penn and Main, meaning Brillo box, appears and stuff like that. But my dad wrote it in the 80s with his power pop band that he had at the time, but they never released it or anything. And I listened to the song all throughout my childhood. I've always loved it. And we took that song, or like its very basic structure, and we made it our own, and we changed quite a lot of things. But my dad wrote it in its core.
Party
the music that I've been hearing from you, it's like got that fun 80s vibe to it, like a anthem, like old school soundtracks, like Breakfast Club had Don't You Forget About Me, that kind of vibe. Do you, I don't know if you get that or not, but that's the way I hear it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, those are s- that's some of the music that no matter how many times I listen to songs like that, it will always like make me feel feelings,
Yeah.
visceral, like a visceral reaction. I'm a sucker for that kind of era. It's just clicks with me. Always has, you know. So that's a compliment. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Um, let's see. You just released New Bad 2 weeks ago, and there's like a cool drum build up, and it goes into like a dirty guitar solo. Abby, can you tell me about that?
The guitar solo on that song is actually not me. That's Rocco. Um, we actually did. There's another song that'll be coming out next month. So like we have NEUBAD is one, and then the other song is kind of like another like very power pop ballady kind of song. And so yeah, funny enough, like Rocco got the punk solo, and I got the love song. So, but yeah, that one's not me. And honestly, like I thought, what I love about Rocco too, and the way that he plays is he thinks of stuff that like it's not in my training at all. Like I think I have a very classic rock approach to soloing, and he hears things so differently. That like I think I learn a lot from like listening to him play. I'm like, never would have gone there. That's great, and so he did a great job. And it's weird. There's parts of that song where like kind of the lead changes off a couple of times. So like there's what I love actually at the end of the song is like there's a nice riff that's in the chorus that I start, but then Rocco finishes it. But it never occurred to me that that was happening until like we heard it in the studio, and I'm like, oh, there's like a whole thing happening in this song. This is really cool.
It makes a cool dynamic with you guys, like trading guitar solos and stuff. You could change it up a little bit.
Yeah. And it is. It's a nice dynamic too, again, to like have two different approaches. Like so almost every song gets what it needs.
Yeah, or gets like a sprinkle of the sweetness and a sprinkle of the dirt. You know, that's what we love.
That's my
What do you have planned coming up? Any shows?
Yeah, I don't know when this airs, but
we play Royal Albert Hall next month. No, that's a joke.
Yeah. Wembley. No, we're playing on Friday with Fastball for the South Park Amphitheater. We're playing at Helltown this weekend on Saturday.
What's the date, Friday?
Friday is July 28th, Saturday. We're at Helltown, Mount Pleasant on the 29th, and we're going to bring Limousine Beach with us. And then we really do have dates through the end of September. So it's pretty nuts. Like we would love to do everything, but like we are very booked at the moment. So we've got a lot of plans to even go out of town here in the fall. But I think the biggest thing is, connecting with the music to have NEUBAD come out and get a good, response. And Hopeless Place comes out on the 18th. So there's anybody who's like following along on Spotify or any like the streaming services and stuff, it'll arrive on the 18th
of August.
Of August, yes.
How can we get a hold of you? Facebook, Instagram?
Yeah, Facebook. I think the easiest thing is Instagram because I think we're all on it, so it makes it a little bit easier. But yeah, there's Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're unfortunately on TikTok, which is like against every fiber of my body to be on TikTok. But
we might just be slightly too old for TikTok, but we are on TikTok. And we
don't do any dances or anything. But I think that, we've just learned that you got to kind of be everywhere and you have to, however somebody stumbles upon your music or connects with you, no matter what the platform, I don't think, we're picky about that. We just want people to find it.
That's all the questions I have. Thanks for coming on the show today. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Randy.
Rock and roll.